Welcome to the inaugural episode of our new book trivia podcast, where we delve along the shelves to learn tasty tidbits about the books we love. My name is Jess, and alongside my fellow book lover Rachel.
Hi everyone, I'm Rachel.
We're here to provide you with plenty of behind-the-scenes insider knowledge for your favourite novels. There's plenty of podcasts out there that seriously dissect your favourite books and provide compelling and thought-provoking commentary, but guess what? We're not one of those. Instead, we want to take you behind the sheets, or pages if you must, and provide you with all the juicy trivia and factoids you need and want.
I think we should start with a lightning round of trivia about books. Are you up for that?
Sounds great. Yeah, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, so Jess, who does the internet and Google consider to be Australia's most famous author? Now, before you try to answer, I don't think I've heard of this person, or I've maybe heard of them once.
Okay, well, I mean, straight away I thought Tim Winton, but that's not...
Oh, that's a good one. I thought Leanne Moriarty.
Oh, yeah.
No,
yes, but I'm thinking a classic, right? So...
Yeah, it's some boring person I've never heard of. Patrick White.
No, don't think I've heard of him either. I've got a less homegrown fact or question for you, but of a book that everyone knows and loves, Lord of the Rings. In Lord of the Rings, who is Frodo's loyal companion?
Samwell Gamgee.
Oh, so close. Samwise.
Samwise. Oh, no. Okay, one for you. According to Goodreads, what is the highest rated book on Goodreads in 2024? And I have a clue if you want it.
I might not need it. Is it Onyx Storm? Is it the Wings?
Okay, I'm going to give you a clue. It is a book you read last year and gave to me, and it's now on my to-read list.
I gave to you to read. I can't remember. Give us another clue.
I think the cover's red.
Oh, The Women?
Yes, The Women by Kristen Hanna.
Okay.
There you go. Highest rated book on Goodreads,
I've
2024.
My next one is, which Shakespeare play features the line "to be or not to be"?
To be or not to be. Hamlet.
Yes, very good.
Yeah.
See, I've asked quite easy ones.
Okay, this next one is a stinker. So, I would never know this, but when was the printing press invented?
Oh, get real. I did not...
You can just say a century.
For future reference, never ask me any questions around years, okay? I'm never going to get this right. I wouldn't even try. I don't know. I'm going to say 18th century because it's my favourite novel.
No, it was invented by Johannes Gutenberg around 1439, and it's considered a major turning point in making books more accessible.
Thank you for that stinker of a question. And
you're welcome.
I'm going to round it out with another easy one. What is the name of the detective hero in most Agatha Christie novels?
Oh.
And you must say it in a French accent.
So it's not Miss Marple. It must be Hercule Poirot.
Yes, very good. Oh, very nice. You seem to be a little bit smarter than me when it comes to our lightning trivia rounds.
The questions will be easier next time.
All right. Okay, with that over with, let's actually get straight into it. A little less lighthearted. Today we're actually talking about Crime and Punishment. So as you may or may not know, for those who is listening, this is a groundbreaking 19th century novel that follows the story of a Russian student who had some dark thoughts and followed through with them. So their big warning here is we will be spoiling the whole book, so please turn off now and come back to us in 3 years or so when you've had a chance to read through this lengthy novel. And for those who are still with us, sit back, relax, as we try and unpack one of the most intense inner monologues ever written and somehow make it fun. Are we ready? Let's go. So, first off, shall I get the ball rolling on CMP with our first trivia fact, Rach?
I think you should, yes.
Okay. Did you know that at the time Dostoevsky was writing this book, he was under big financial pressure. He actually owed huge sums of money to creditors, and he was also trying to help the family of his brother Mikhail, who had died in 1864. Are you aware of
Did
that?
not know that.
Okay.
No.
Let's get straight into it now. Disclaimer here, we actually can't pronounce, as you've already heard, I can't even pronounce Dostoevsky. It's going to be very hard for us to also pronounce most of these Russian names very well. So we're going to give them the old Aussie treatment and use some shortened versions. Rach, who are we going to talk about today?
Okay, so first off, the main character in the book, his name is, why do I have to pronounce them? Rodion Raskolnikov. So because we can't say that, we're going to call him Rodeo. And if you don't know who we're talking about the main protagonist. He's an ex-student, and you get to know him throughout the book, and you see he's a pretty deep thinker and quite poverty-stricken. Next up, we've got Semyon Marmeladov. We can't say that. I haven't even attempted the middle name. And we're going to call him Mr. Marmalade. If you are confused about who we're talking about, early in the novel, Rodeo meets him in a pub, in a drinking house, and he is the alcoholic, fired civil servant. His wife, we're also calling Mrs. Marmalade. In the book, you will see her called Katerina Ivanovna Marmeladov. She's the second wife. She's got 3 kids. She's sick with consumption, which is also known as tuberculosis, and they're a very poor family. And rounding out the marmalades, we've got Sonia Marmalade. We'll probably just call her Sonia or poor Sonia for the rest of the potty. And anyone else we mention? I think we do mention Rodeo's sister, so we'll either call her Dooney or Rodeo's sister. And the investigative police lawyer, who in the book is called Porfiry Petrovich. If we mention him, we'll be calling him Pete the Cop or Pete the Copper.
And that is your sentence for giving me really hard trivia questions at the start. Thank you for trying to pronounce those names. Let's get into the rest of the book. All right, now I'll hand it over to Rach for a quick summary of the plot points.
Yeah, so very quickly, this is a book set in St. Petersburg in Russia in the 1860s, so that's about 160 years ago, where an extremely poverty-stricken student kills an old lady pawnbroker and then her sister, and then basically spends the next 500 pages spiraling with paranoia from, being a murderer. Crime and punishment in 1 second.
That's pretty much it. So let's delve in a little bit more to Rodeo, our tragic protagonist. He's a 23-year-old student, or we should actually say former student, because he basically spends his days walking around St. Petersburg looking very dejected at the start of the novel. And then he descends into huge periods of delirium, spouting lengthy personal soliloquies as the plot moves on. He's described in the novel as exceptionally handsome, taller than average in height, slim, well-built with beautiful dark eyes and dark brown hair. But an interesting fact is that the word Raskolnikov, that we can barely say, actually comes from the Russian word Raskolnik, which means schismatic or divided. So Dostoevsky actually specifically chose that name to reflect this character's internal conflict between his intellectual side and his violent tendencies. And that actually makes a lot of sense because on the one hand, he's a devoted family man to his mother and to his sister Dooney. He shows a lot of compassion and worries for their welfare in some chapters. But then on the other hand, he's a bordering psychopath, I feel. He displays pretty clear antisocial behaviour. He's grappling with a really desperate and depraved idea to murder his debtor with an axe, which might be a great segue to walk through Rodeo's extraordinary man theory. Rach?
Yeah, so in the book, Rodion Romanov, I'm not even going to try. What are we calling him? Rodeo.
Rodeo.
Yeah, he has written and had published a theory in a journal, and it's basically, we're calling it the extraordinary man theory here. And in the article, which somebody else reads in the book, Rodeo's arguing that there are two types of people, ordinary people and extraordinary people, and that the normal rules of society don't apply to the extraordinary types of people. And he thinks of Napoleon. So Napoleon, in Rodeo's head, had such a strong vision of how he wanted to shape the future of France that he broke laws to shape that future. And then he was forgiven afterwards when the future that Napoleon had envisioned was realised. So that's the theory in a nutshell. I did a quick Google of what Napoleon was up to in the 1860s when this book was being written and published, and Napoleon had died 40 years earlier. So in my head, I'm like, oh, that's like us today thinking about someone who died in like 1980, 81, like John Lennon. It's that kind of time difference. I
get it.
Yeah, so that's Napoleon, and why I don't know why he was inspired by Napoleon, but yeah. But
what do you think about it? What do you, like, if you're going to say anything about it, do you agree?
With the theory.
And by my laughing, do you think I agree?
I mean, he is correct. Like, Napoleon did probably break a lot of rules and then get forgiven afterwards. But I think
do you think he was an extraordinary man for doing so?
But I don't know that much about Napoleon, but probably not. I mean, the history's littered with people that did a lot of bad things and then got to rewrite history and say that they were amazing because they won the war.
Yeah, because they won, exactly.
Yeah. And the saying is, history is written by the victors, isn't it? So
it is. Well, yes, I don't know. I don't really subscribe to it, and I think that might obviously maybe a lot of the deeper dive into that psychology, which Dostoevsky is like famed for. I don't know. Maybe I'm not a deep reader enough to appreciate it, but I was like, well, I don't think you're so extraordinary for axing two old ladies in the head. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on. What's really interesting, actually, another interesting fact is that the book wasn't an actual book when it was first broadcast. Did you know about this, Rach?
Really?
Did you know? So, in fact, he did actually try to get it published initially, but he had no luck. And as a last resort, he approached the Russian Messenger, which I guess was one of the newspapers back in the times. And he had this idea to turn it into a novella. They eventually agreed, and it came out in 1866 as monthly installments. What about you, Rach? Got any extra trivia to add to that?
Okay, so my only fun fact for the entire episode is that there was a rehabilitation program in some prisons in East Texas, and as part of that rehabilitation program, they got the prisoners to read and discuss Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky, which I think is quite a fun fact.
I love that fun fact. Very fun fact. Well, I don't know if it's fun, but interesting fact. All right. So let's keep going and get into the murder itself. So I guess after a fair amount of faffing about, Rodeo finally bites the bullet. He sets out on his task. He straps an axe inside his coat, and then he heads off to the house of his pawnbroker, the old lady's. As mentioned, her name is Alyona Ivanova. Oh, maybe the only one I can pronounce properly. She's about as miserly as you can imagine. She hoards money and she shows no mercy to the people who lend from her. Rodeo stomps his way into her house, gives her a fake wrapped up trinket to pawn, and as she's busy opening it, crack! He splits her head open with an axe. He then runs into a side. Was that dramatic enough?
Yeah, very dramatic.
After he's cracked her skull open, he runs into the side room. He starts looking for her stash of money. And as he's madly stuffing his pockets, the old lady's sister, I forget her name, unfortunately comes to the door. He freaks out. He axes her too. And then he gets trapped on the murder scene for a while before fleeing after a very lucky break. So that's basically the synopsis of the book when it comes down to it. Fun fact, the idea of the murder actually came to Dostoevsky in September 1865 when he was staying in the little German town of Wiesbaden. I don't know if that's pronounced properly, but it was known to be a gambling hotspot, and he actually lost nearly all his money at the roulette wheel while he was there. The result was that he didn't have a dime to pay his hotel bill, and as such, the dining staff had been instructed to stop bringing him dinner. But to distract himself and keep hunger at bay, he decided he would limit the amount of physical energy he'd exerted by remaining in his room and reading. One day he was reading and he came across the story of a man who murdered a cook and a washerwoman by bludgeoning them to death by an axe. The man turned out to be a notorious French serial killer by the name of Pierre-François Lassonnière. I cannot pronounce these things. But not long after that, Dostoevsky sent a note to his editor in St. Petersburg and told him he had an idea for the story. So that's where it came about. Now, on to Rach to tell us how Rodeo goes nuts after he's committed a murder.
Yeah, so after the murder, he definitely goes nuts, but I would actually say he's already quite disturbed before the events of the novel have begun. So when the novel begins, he's lost his job, his fiancée has died, he's dropped out of uni, and he's actually become a shut-in in his tiny little attic room for weeks or maybe even months prior to the crime. And he's just been laying in bed thinking about maybe committing this murder. And then his mental illness, it's basically mirrored by his physical illness during the course of the novel. So straight after the murder, he's incredibly ill and he faints in a police station. So I'd say his illness is really, really well written. I felt ill reading it, to be honest. So yeah, lots of guilt, paranoia, fever dreams, and just wandering around St. Petersburg pointlessly. So yeah.
And some would actually say that kind of mirrors the way some of us go into a bit of a spiral, like an anxiety spiral in the modern day. So as you mentioned, like right from the start, Rodeo is presented to us as a character on the brink of mental collapse. Half the times he's walking around the city muttering to himself. He sleeps all day. He barely eats. On the one occasion he decides to have a drink, he follows a random guy, Mr. Marmalade, home and then gives all his money away. He seems to be barely holding it together even before the murders, like you said. But once he commits them, he straight away starts thinking everyone knows he did it and goes into a spiral. That part of the novel, the very start of it, I kept thinking, what are you doing? Stop doing this irrational behavior. They're going to figure you out. And then I was like, why do I care if you got found out? You just killed two old ladies.
Yeah, you are sort of on his side a bit, thinking, well, no, you've done it. You may as well get away with it.
Get away with it. Yeah, for sure.
So I've got some quick questions for you. Just based on murder and mayhem. Would you rather have a neighbour who's definitely a serial killer or a neighbour that thinks you are a serial killer?
This is a very good question. I feel like I think I would rather they think I'm the serial killer because let's be honest, in our modern ages, we don't hang out with our neighbours that much. So does it really matter what they think of you? What do you think?
I would actually rather have a neighbour who's a serial killer because you know what? Whenever they interview serial killers' neighbours on TV, they're like, oh yeah, really quiet person, kept to themselves. They never murder the neighbours. It's the safest person to be in a serial killer's life. They're not going to come for you. It's too close to home.
I agree.
Okay, another one. Would you rather leave DNA at a crime scene but be innocent or have an airtight alibi but your search history says how to hide a body?
Well, then that's not really an airtight alibi, is it, if your search history says that? But I think I would still go with that. I feel you're going to be more likely to get away with it, if indeed it was you or not.
Yeah, okay.
What do you think?
Well, I think airtight alibi, I'm imagining like if I'm on CCTV in a public place, the entire day.
Yeah.
How are they going to pin it on me?
Yeah. Even if I am asking to Google how to hide a body.
I mean, who doesn't Google how to hide a body every now and then?
I have a rational response to that. I'm not sure what it is right now, but I'm sure I can think of it.
Yeah, you can come up with a excuse. Now, 2 more questions. So second, last one. Would you rather be on a true crime podcast as the victim or on a true crime podcast as the main suspect that's walking free and everyone thinks should be in jail?
Yeah. I guess it depends what the crime is, but I'm going to assume the crime is that, like, my loved ones are being killed. So in which case I'd rather be the murderer.
Okay.
What about you? I think that I wouldn't want any of my loved ones to be dead. I'd rather be killing people. I don't know.
No, I think I'd rather be the victim because I look like a victim. People have picked up photos of me and said, you look like the victim of a school shooting.
You are kidding me.
No, like school photos. They're like, you look like you should have been killed at school.
Well, that's random.
And also, I'm listening to a podcast at the moment where the main suspect, like, they're basically just calling him a murderer and he has to live his life. And his nickname in the town is JTM, John the Murderer. So I'm like, well, it doesn't sound
move
great.
away from the town. Why are you even in the same town then?
Yeah, but like they're publishing his photo on the front page of the paper and stuff. Like, no matter where you go, you're going to be called JTM. John the Murderer. All right, one last question. Have you ever invited 4 people around to your house for beef Wellington for lunch and then poisoned them all?
Okay, for non-Australian listeners, there is a lady in the news at the moment who has, in fact, been accused of this exact crime. She's known as the Mushroom Lady, I think.
Yeah, the mushroom cook.
And I think most people think she's guilty, right? She's definitely guilty.
I mean, I'm following the case. It doesn't look good. It does
not look good.
She
hydrated the mushrooms, and then she said, apparently the hydrator was found at the tip. Why are you going to hydrate the mushrooms and then take your hydrator to the tip?
There's so many. She served her portion on a different colour plate to everybody else as well. She had 2 different mobile phones going for months prior.
I would say she's a bit smarter than Rodeo. Let's be honest. He didn't really think that far ahead.
She's on trial and she's pleading not guilty, so she may well get away with it. We'll have to wait and see.
Or she may be sentenced to a bit of time in Siberia. We'll have to see about that.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, we have digressed, my friends. Let's move into, we'll just talk a little bit about the other players in the story. There are a few other bit players. One of them, as we mentioned when we were talking about the cast, is Sonia, as we call her, poor Sonia. She's the daughter from Mr. Marmalade's first marriage. That makes her Mrs. Marmalade's stepdaughter, not actual daughter. And Mrs. Marmalade has pretty much goaded her into sex work so that Sonia, poor Sonia, can provide an extra income stream to look after the 3 younger children of Mr. and Mrs. Marmalade. So Sonia, throughout the book, she's portrayed as selfless. She's like, instead of feeling anger at her lot in life, she shoulders that burden with dignity and through an unwavering belief in God. And it's that saintliness that eventually persuades, and again, spoiler alert, but Rodeo does confess to the murder because of what Sonia says. Fun fact, many people believe Dostoevsky drew inspiration from Jesus, creating Sonia's character. She's often viewed as the literary embodiment of Christ's teachings, particularly his message of forgiveness and redemption. And as I was looking through all the notes, one thing I found was, or what could be the reason why many of his books have a religious undertone, is because of Dostoevsky's heritage. His immediate ancestors on his mother's side were merchants, but the male line on his father's side was almost all priests. So that's interesting.
Really?
Did you know that, Rach? No,
wow.
you didn't. And then also, let's move to Porphyry, or as we like to call him, Pete the Cop. He's the detective investigating the murders. And fun fact again, Dostoevsky created this character in order to explore the psychological dynamics of Rodio's crime. It's interesting that he doesn't use facts to solve the case. Some say interesting, I say annoying. Instead, he uses Rodio's vulnerability and deteriorating mental state to probe his guilt. Rach, you want to talk about the other couple?
Yeah, so my facts aren't really as fun or even facts, but we've also got Mr. Marmalade. So a summary of him is just he's an alcoholic and he's ruined his family with his drinking. I thought it was a pretty good portrait of alcoholics. And it's a bit sad because the book was written 160 years ago and there's still people following this path today.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then there was Dunya or Dooney, Rodio's sister. So she's described in the book as really beautiful physically, and she's a lot more stable than anybody else in the book. And I would say she's the only point of optimism and light in this book for me. She's the one where you think she might have a bit of a bright future ahead of her. So sorry, I didn't get the memo on doing fun facts. So
it's all right. We'll
make
sure. I believe we're going to call the podcast Book Trivia, so that might be a reference to what we're trying to
remember next time. One thing that might be a fun fact: St. Petersburg in this book sort of acts as a character in the book, but instead of the picturesque city you would picture if you Googled St. Petersburg and looked up Google Images, it's a different side. It's a really seedy underbelly that feels really dirty and gross and crowded when you're reading the book. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I actually visited St. Petersburg when I was many years ago now, and obviously I was a tourist, so I only ever saw the really beautiful parts of the of it. It really is. The pictures don't do it justice, but I could not imagine the dirty streets that he was discussing in the book compared to the St. Petersburg in my mind. So totally agree with you there.
Yeah. Okay, so Jess, who did you like best? Who did you hate, and why? In the book, so, obviously.
We're just talking people in real life.
Yeah.
So in the book, Dooney was probably the character who came out the best for me. I think you already mentioned I liked her plot arc, her demeanour. She seems to be the character that's the most pragmatic in her approach, but also the most open. But that said, I would have liked a bigger focus on her. It kind of felt to me like Dostoevsky, I cannot pronounce his name, was way more about the other characters. Even Mrs. Marmalade seemed a bit more thought out, and considering she's kind of more of a bit part. And then the character that I really hated, and it'd be interesting to see what you think, but I hated Pete the cop. I just felt like he came off really smug the way he interrogated Rodeo. He spent way more time making him lose the plot than looking for cold hard facts. I'm a facts girl. I don't think that it was really fair, to be honest. And he was so smug when he was sort of carrying out all of his conversations with him. What about you? Who did you like best? Who'd you hate?
Okay, so I liked the best friend forever, Razzie. I just thought he had lovely ideas. He was really kind. At one point in the book, he's like, why don't we all chip in the money we have together and start a publishing company, like Raskolnikov, his sister, his mother, and this best friend. And I thought, oh, like, what a lovely guy. He's such a faithful friend. The character
he was really cute. I liked him.
Yeah. The character I hated the most was Sonia. I feel bad now because you said she's based on Jesus. But I really didn't like the way she was written. I actually thought
she was too perfect, wasn't she?
I thought she was used as a plot device instead of an actual human being. I was like, this is just not, I don't know. I didn't understand any of her character motivations.
She definitely, like, there was no light and dark with her. It was all light. So you didn't really, it definitely didn't seem genuine for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't understand. Well, we're getting to the spoilers now, so I didn't understand why she followed, what's his name? Rodeo,
Radio.
to Siberia. She's got 3 stepchildren.
Hey, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. Okay, so we're up to the spoilers. So at the end, Raskolnikov confesses to his crime, his double murder, and he is sent to a Siberian prison. And then Sonia follows him, and the book hints at his eventual redemption. Like, he will obviously be redeemed once he works off his crime in this Siberian work camp. So I guess it explores the idea that the punishment is mostly internal. It's your internal conscience that is the worst punishment, not the external punishment of prison in Siberia. For some people, I guess. And I believe you have a fun fact about Dostoevsky, and
I do indeed. What a lovely segue. Almost like we wrote it or something. So yes, my trivia for this point is actually, right, did you know in real life Dostoevsky was actually sentenced to be executed? Because he was working with he had like an association with a group that was criticizing the government and serfdom at the time. So he was actually sentenced to execution. And as he and his fellow prisoners were being herded into a circle so that they could face death by firing squad, a cart carrying a messenger delivered a letter from the Tsar. Do you say Tsar? And actually the letter said that he was commuting Dostoevsky's sentence from death to exile to exile in Siberia. And then Dostoevsky obviously went to Siberia, served 4 years there instead of dying. And then when he came home, he actually wrote the novel after he'd been there, and that's it.
Wow. So second chance at life for good old Dostoevsky.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I think it's you.
No one could tell that we're a bit new at this. Okay, we always wrap up our potty, even though this is the first potty we've ever done. But we plan to always wrap it up with the lightning round of true or false trivia. So do you want to hit it, Rach? We're going to do it. Rach will say one. I'll guess if it's true or false, etc. You'll see how it goes. So Rach, you start.
Okay, Jess. True or false? Crime and punishment was banned in the USSR at one point.
I'm going to say true.
I believe it's false. The USSR is the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel would have been like most books would have been banned from there, don't you think?
No, I think they're okay with great Russian writers in Russia.
Yeah, okay.
I think they're fine with that.
Yeah, good point. All right, Rach. True or false? Dostoevsky gave up a career as a military engineer to pursue literature.
Oh, false? I don't know.
It is actually true. His dad was big on it, and he'd actually enrolled him in the military to be an engineer. And at the very last minute, Dostoevsky said, "No way, brah," and then decided to be a poor author instead.
Wow. Okay, I think you're going to get this one because it's pretty easy. But true or false? Dostoevsky was a gambling addict.
Well, considering one of my fun facts talking about how he gambled away all of his money, I'm going to say that's true.
Correct. He was mad gambler. So I guess that maybe that's why he's got Mr. Marmalade in the book. You know, alcoholics and gamblers. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Rach, true or false? Crime and Punishment was made into a TV series directed by Hitchcock.
Oh, TV series Hitchcock. No, he's a movie person. Did he make a movie? Is this a trick question?
Yes, it is a trick question.
He made a movie, not a TV show.
No, neither. It was not made into a TV series. But just because you have mentioned it, it has, not by by Hitchcock, but it has been adapted into more than 25 films, of
Oh,
which I
wow.
have seen none and also don't really care to see any.
Agree.
Either
Hard
after
agree. Okay, true or false for Jess? Dostoevsky was a fan of the nihilist philosophy.
I don't know what the nihilist philosophy is, but it sounds pretty hardcore, so I'm going to say true.
No, false. He's actually apparently taken the nihilist philosophy to its furthest extreme in the book Crime and Punishment.
Can you tell me what the nihilist
I think it's
philosophy
just that nothing really matters. Do what you want, kill anyone. There's no God, there's no nothing. Just, okay, don't quote me on that, but I think it's something along the lines of that. But at the time, there were a lot of people that were getting into nihilism around Russia and arguing about nihilist ideas, and Dostoevsky wasn't a fan, and so he thought, I'll take the seeds of your ideas and then extrapolate them to the most extreme things that I can think of into a story, and that's what he's done in Crime and Punishment. So you see, what's his name, Raskolnikov, going and murdering an old pawnbroker, and that's all, nihilist philosophy, making fun of it, pointing out how stupid it is to the nihilists.
I love it. I don't understand it very well, but yeah, go Dostoevsky.
You understand a sick burn when you read it.
That I do.
Yeah.
All right, Rachie, true or false? The axe rodeo uses to kill the old ladies is actually a traditional weapon of the Russian peasant. True or false?
Oh, axe. I don't know. I'll go true.
It is true. Well
Ooh.
done, Rach.
Okay. This is my
And
last.
thus wraps. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I've got one for you. One more. Okay. True or false, Jess? Dostoevsky's wife was his stenographer and editor.
So I know from reading up on it that she was really heavily involved in all of his stuff, right? I think she was one of his biggest supporters. She really helped him even when he was like fully in all of that debt. So I'm going to go Trusky.
Yeah, it is true. He went to the brand new stenography school. So they just
What is stenography? Is that photography?
It's that funny shorthand that
yeah.
They invented it. It was a new technology back in the day, and apparently, they were taking in, say, 200 students, and only 15 were graduating because it was so difficult to teach.
Wow.
And this lady was top of the class. He hired her from the school. She came in. He would just talk, and she would write it down in her special shorthand, and then he fell in love with her through that, and they got married, and she helped edit the book as well.
Fun. That is the best fun fact to end with, I feel.
Yeah.
What do you think, Rachie?
Yeah, it's a good way to get a job and a husband.
Is that your final thoughts?
No, I've got one final thought. Would you recommend this book to somebody else to read?
So, love the question. My answer is, am I glad that I read it? Yes. Will I probably ever read it again? I don't think so. I feel like there's way too much internal monologue going on. It's the pace for me is so slow. It might have been, top tier crime thriller of the day, but I feel like that was what was it, 160 years ago, before we actually had pretty fun crime thrillers to read. And I think if it came out today, it would be needs a lot of editing. But would I recommend it to someone? I guess I feel pretty happy that I've read it. Like, it's a bit of a, what can I say, kind of thing. What do you think?
Would I recommend it?
Yeah.
Hard no. I can't imagine anyone. No. I mean, unless I really hated the person and then I'd just rave about it just to trick them into reading it.
Okay. So mean. All right. I love that. And sorry for everyone who read the book and then listened to this podcast.
To be fair, I am glad that I can now say that I've read Dostoevsky because it makes me sound a lot smarter than I actually am.
Yes, that's what I feel like. It's a good sort of
some cachet.
What do you call it? Like when you
brag, humble brag.
Humble brag. That's what I'm trying.
Non-humble brag. It's just a brag.
Total brag.
Yeah.
All right, fab. Let's wrap it up. I think that's Crime and Punishment all wrapped up in a bow for the ladies and gents. Probably the one person, my mum, who will listen to this podcast. Mum, I hope you enjoyed the show.
Hi, Jess's mum.
The banter. Most importantly, the insider goss. That's what we're here for. And if you would like a sneak peek at what our next episode will be discussing, I'm going to give you a little bit of a hint. Rachel's got one too. My hint is, what smells like caramel, looks like moonlight, and came from a dream? What about you, Rach?
I'm going to say my farts. No, that's not the answer. The other clue from me is we are going to a magical place of black and white with a dash of red. So if you combine that with Jess's clue and you know the book, I think you will have figured it out by now.
It's certainly a lot funner than Crime and Punishment. It's definitely a departure from the sad slums of St. Petersburg.
Way better.
All right. You want to wrap us up, right?
Yeah. Well, thanks everyone for listening. And if you like this episode, please follow us, rate our podcast. If you want to leave us a review, find us on Substack.
We don't have one.
Yep, we're there. We're known as the first pancake on Substack. All right, I'm gonna press stop.
Welcome to the Book Trivia Podcast, where we give you book facts and we have a laugh. If you're a book lover with a thirst to know, then make sure you subscribe to this show. Our names are H and Jess, and we'll put your book